Recently, we had an event with a little over 100 tax firm owners from all over the country, and this was called our Org Summit. Now, we have these every quarter, but this event was all about organization and the teams that we carry. So how to hire, retain, develop, culture, mission, vision, values, the common things people talk about businesses, but rarely actually maximize or even master. And one of the common themes that showed up every single time was, how do you get the people who maybe aren't so motivated in our firms to actually do the best they can? Or maybe in the past we've let these people down, or maybe they've let us down. And how do we recover from that? Because maybe they're not doing the job or delivering on the promises. Maybe they miss details. There's something there in the past that maybe we have not corrected or addressed. And these become challenges because when we bring them to their attention, then there becomes conflict, and nobody wants to have conflict because we lose our teams that way. We people quit, or we have this bad, taste in our mouths, and we don't have deep conversations anymore. And so I have had that for years by running a business for the last 18 years, being in the industry of tax. I had a big tax practice with over 200 employees, thousands of clients, and then, microing that down to advisory and now having about 65 employees. I still see it. Doesn't matter. From the first employee to the 200 to the 65, I've seen it all. And I've had to deal with it as a leader. And so what I trained on at this event, I had one training called The Great Apology. Now, I won't take 100% credit of this, but there was a guy named Keith Cunningham, and I wrote a book, and it was such a good book. And just one chapter was about how do you get back the culture? How do you have corrective conversations? And I thought it was such a great concept, because what it is that you have to first admit that maybe you have made a mistake. And I'm not saying that you have to say you're sorry. It's just an admittal. And that's how it all begins. But I'm not going to go into too much detail, because here's the deal. I want you to watch this. This is like me going deep with 100 tax firm owners. They're going to ask questions. They're going to go deep. We're going to talk about some of the difficult dialogue that needs to happen. But once you're done at the end, you're going to see, oh man, I need to have these conversations. I got 3 people I got to go to, and you're going to want to rush to go do it. So check out this event, and I'll see you inside. Let's talk about one of my favorite topics. And I won't claim this as my own idea. It is my own version of this. There is a guy named Keith Cunningham that I followed for a long time, and he had this as a framework, and I really loved it, and I adopted it as my own, and then I kind of tweaked it to serve me. So it's a variation of it, but it was inspired by him. And it was really, I was hearing this at the right time. Like there's a lot of things that, there's seasons of your life, and something that does not make sense today may make sense in 2 years, may make sense in 6 months. You could read a book today and it wouldn't hit you. You could listen to a message and it wouldn't hit you. But then all of a sudden, in a different season of life, it hits you. And when I heard this, I was in a different season. I was going through this leader shift in my organization. This was probably I'd say about 8 or 9 years ago. And I was trying to really cement this operations team. I've always trying to build a better team. I'm always trying to build a better team. And I was having a lot of trouble. And it was a few team members that just wouldn't get the job done. They just wouldn't get things done. And I would accept it over and over again. And then one day I picked up a book, and I started reading it, and I was like, oh my God, this is like totally speaking to me. Now, not all of the book did, just this one thing. And I was like, man, this is great. I'm going to use this. And so I did, and it worked. And I thought, man, when something works, we got to do this over again. And so this concept is called the Great Apology. And it's how you reset a broken culture. So if you have had a challenge getting people to do things, then you have a broken culture, right? Culture is what your team believes is okay. It is the behavior you allow. It's the standards you actually enforce or don't enforce. This is the culture you have. And when broken culture is in a firm, it looks like missed deadlines. It looks like returns going out, missing forms. It looks like client emails sitting in with days with no reply. It looks like onboarding steps skipped because the client's different. It looks like the price that stays the same for years because the team thinks you already charge too much. That is exactly what broken culture looks like. Now, you created this culture, so you have to accept it. It's basically what you tolerated. So the Great Apology is a leadership shift. This is the way to reset a culture, because what you're going to do in this apology is you're going to own what you created. And you're going to own it in front of the people who lived through it. You tell the team the truth about what you allowed. You tell them what needs to change. There are 5 parts to the apology. 5 parts. 1, the opening. You got to name the failure as the leader. Number 2, the list. The thing or things you have allowed. Number 3, the cost. What it did to the team and the clients. Number 4, the change. What needs to happen now? And number 5, the ask. What you need from each person. We're going to go through this together. I think, let me pull up an example here. Come on, little tablet. All right. So I'm going to give you an example of an apology. Now, I want you to get context. You're the owner of a firm, and you're having poor client communications. So emails get ignored or don't get responded to in time, calls not returned, clients learning about problems from the IRS ahead of you knowing about them. Who has had these problems? Raise your hand. Anybody had poor communication problems in a firm? If you haven't, you are lying to me. Everyone has. So I'm going to share with you how we would handle this, and then I'm going to break it down piece by piece. That cool? Okay. So let's assume that you are my team. Man, I have a big team now. This is cool. And every one of you are sitting in the room, and I am going to start by taking ownership of this problem. So, part 1, my opening. I owe each of you an apology. I have not done my job as the owner of this firm. For a long time, I have known what was wrong here, and I have not fixed it. I told myself I was being patient. I was not being patient. I was avoiding the hard conversations because I wanted to be liked more than I wanted to lead. That stops today. Okay, that is the opening. Part 2, the list. Here's what I have allowed. Client emails have been sitting in inboxes for 3, 4, 5 days without a reply. Phone calls that never get returned. Clients finding out about problems with their returns from the IRS instead of us. A team that thinks getting back to a client within 1 business day is optional. I knew this was happening. I saw the email threads. I heard the complaints from the staff and from the clients, and I did nothing. Part 3, the cost. Here is what it has cost us. We have lost our professionalism. We are a firm that does not return phone calls. We have lost credibility. Clients no longer believe we have our act together. We have lost trust. Clients now check on us instead of relying on us. And it has cost each of you credibility. The firm has a reputation that does not match with the work you do. This is on me. Part 4, the change. Here is what needs to happen now. Every client gets a reply within 1 business day. I'm not asking you to fix it. I'm asking you to reply. If you cannot give the client an answer that day, you give them an update. If you see another teammate's client waiting, you say something. I'm not asking you to work harder. You already work hard. I'm asking you to do the work. That is the standard. Part 5, the ask. Here's what I need from each of you. Own your client communications. Every email, every call is yours. Every call is yours until it is closed. Do not let a team member not respond to their clients. If you see one waiting, step in. Tell me when something is broken. Do not wait for me to fix it. I'm going to get better. I'm asking you to get better. If you have questions, let's meet right after this. Now, I'll say it in my own words. And actually, I'll pull up the parts so we can walk through it. I'll say it in my words right here. The opening. I want to apologize to everyone here. Over the last few weeks, I've seen poor communication to our clients. I've seen unresponded emails, I've seen unresponded messages, and I've seen a lack of communication from our team. I've handled both. What that's cost us is the credibility with our clients. They don't trust us. They don't believe in us. They don't respect us right now, thinking that we don't care about those responses. I'm not going to accept this anymore. You see, I made mistakes, and that's on me. But moving forward together, this is not acceptable. We have to get better for these clients. What needs to change is every single communication needs to be responded to within 24 hours, no exceptions. No exceptions. We will respond to our clients, we will get them their answers, and if we can't solve the problem immediately, we will give them updates. Now, what I need from you is a commitment, the ask, that this is not going to happen again. And should you not agree with this or not believe this is you, please have a talk with me afterwards. But if this is you, I expect to change today. And that's how you tell somebody that they are effing up and that this needs to change. So I start by asking, I'll break it down for you. But first, I start with an opening, name the failure, and name my failure. The only way that change happens, by the way, in an organization is if you admit to your own failure. And the failure you have is not addressing it. That is your failure. You're not addressing it from a lack of courage. And I can open it up a different way. I could say, look, I apologize to you guys. I failed you. You see, over the last few weeks, I have not stepped up and said we are not doing a good job at communicating. You see, I saw it and I didn't say it. And it sucks because the truth is I was just trying to keep the peace. I was just trying to play nice. I was trying to not rock the boat around here. I was trying to be liked more than I was trying to get the job done. And what are we talking about? We're talking about client communications. You could do this, by the way, for being tardy. I could say, here's the problem. I see too many of you coming in late, not respecting the clock, thinking that you could come in at whatever time you want, leaving whenever you want, and taking long lunch breaks. I see this every day. The cost, people can't depend on you. When somebody's looking for you, we don't know where you are. When a meeting starts, we're not sure if you're going to show up on time. And the cost here is that people just don't trust you. You're not dependable. What I need to happen is I need you to show up on time. I need you to not let me down. I need you to be where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there moving forward. This is a standard. And I ask that this happens immediately. No questions asked, this is it. And if you have a concern or you need help with this, let's talk after. I'm just gonna lay into people, just so you know. That's how, by the way, I do this all the time. I lay into people all the time. So I did this when I was having, and I do this pretty often. In fact, I did this Friday. My team even knows the framework and I do it to them. I'm like, look guys, I'm gonna apologize right now. I haven't been the best leader to you. I messed up. I didn't hold you accountable. I didn't call out the bullshit. You guys have been messing up and I've been sitting around just letting it go because I'm too busy doing my thing. I'm too busy doing the things that I think I need to do, but this is very important to me and I need to step in and say something today. You guys have been not meeting deadlines. You're not doing the job that I asked you to do. You know, people are taking off. People are not getting the job done and I'm tired of this. I cannot accept it. The cost is our integrity, our reputation, and our brand. And all three are very important to me and this company, and it should be to you, because the reason that we get paid around here is because these clients need to be happy and taken care of. And if you don't do your job, then we're letting them down, and you're letting me down, and you're letting everybody in this room down. So what I need you to change immediately is the standards that we enforce, that details matter, resourcefulness is an option, winning is the only way. We need to keep those going. And should you not believe this is the case, then we need to have an individual talk where I'll let you know a little bit more about what I see. And if this seems like it's natural, because it is, I do this shit like every week. Because I need to tell people the truth. And I call it out so quick. Like, this is the thing that we need to do. So let's break it down. This is what I do all the time, because when you start this, you have to own it. This is important. Does that scare somebody to say that I didn't do my job? Anybody scared? Raise your hand. Okay, got a few of you. I know how it is, because it sounds like it's a form of weakness, right? Like, why would you admit fault? There are a lot of people who operate like that. And by the way, there are people who win like that. They just never admit failure. There are people who win this way. I would bet, though, there are more people who don't win that way. But there are a lot of people who win by not admitting failure. But it doesn't help them build a team, and it doesn't help them tell the truth. It doesn't help them, and in a lot of ways. And I just want to be honest. So you have to admit your failures. And all of you have failures. It's almost always, it's just poor communication. You have poor communications, like 100% of the time. And it's not necessarily poor communication. It's a lack of just stating just calling the obvious out. As an example, if you really have a concern about people coming in late, even if it's virtual, you can just say it when you see it. Just say it. Just say, hey, like, are you okay? Did something happen? like, why are you coming in late? Just call it out, right? Like, that's the form of communication that you missed. And because you missed it, you have to have this statement: I failed you. So either you're gonna call it out in the moment, or you're gonna have to have an apology. One or the other is gonna happen. Because if you don't call it out, then you have accepted it. And now because you've accepted it, you have to apologize that you accepted it. But if you call it out in the moment, then you never have to apologize. So you have to accept responsibility as a leader. And this is the hardest part for most of you, and for me too. When I first started this, I was like, I shouldn't apologize. These guys suck. But no, I need to accept that I may have not done my job. Next, you have to list what they've done, what's wrong, the things that you have allowed. And it could be 1, it could be 10. Obviously, the more that you put together, the harder it becomes, because then you can't target each one. This is why you have to really be tactical on what you want to address. When I look at like what I want to address, it's typically in the order of importance. Like, what is it that's so important to me? Because I got to pick my battles. If I'm going to have to fight with somebody about something, I might as well pick it. And if this is, I'll get to the end what happens if people don't like this, but you have to do this. Like, this is your responsibility as a leader. This is the responsibility of the leader. Any great coach, and I mean like at the highest professional levels, states the truth to their players. They don't go into the room and not tell them the truth. When Tom Brady was like, hey, how did I do today? He's like, you sucked. Let me tell you why. And they would point it out. But if he didn't do that, and Tom Brady believed that he was good, there was going to be eventually a conversation that they were going to say, hey, Tom, let's sit down for a quick minute. I want to let you know something, bro. I kind of didn't tell you the truth the last few times, and you kind of do suck today, and you sucked then, and you need to make a change. Tom Brady would not be Tom Brady if he didn't get a good coach. You have to think through that. So you have to list the things. Each item must have something you can track or see. This is actually something that you have to be prepared with, and I didn't address it, but you have to be able to tell somebody that they're doing something, and you have to be able to cite the behaviors. Because some people are going to challenge you. They're going to say, no, I don't do that. No, we do respond. So if you're going to start this great apology, at least you don't have to cite it in your apology. You have to be able to cite it afterwards. So when they say, that's not true, we always respond to clients. I don't know, let me show you about this 3 clients that have just been nagging on us that nobody's responding to them. Or, oh, I'm always on time except for that one time. I don't know, George, Been seeing your ass every day, right? I see your car in the parking lot before, this is not true. So you have to be able to have evidence that supports this case. Next, the cost. The cost is, what is it costing you and the firm? Not just you, but the firm, the community, the culture. So for a long time, I didn't see it this big. Like for a long time, I thought, well, it's, they're just letting themselves down. They're letting their department down. But that's why I shared with you earlier, when somebody's late constantly or doesn't do their job, then what it leads to is other people thinking it's acceptable. And then that becomes the new standard. Like then people are like, well, it's okay to be late, or it's okay to do these things. And for an example, I've let people go in our organization over the last few years just because I knew it was going to threaten our standards, and I didn't want people to think that I accepted poor behavior, even though they were a good employee. I just couldn't accept the behaviors. But I had to have these conversations with them, and I had to tell them the cost of me allowing you to be here is costing and sacrificing the belief in the other team members that I do a good job to protect this company. I actually cite that a lot. If you don't cite that a lot when you're talking to people, I think you should. Like I cite that my job is to protect the company. And when I talk to people and they say things like, give me one more shot, or, hey, it's not really that bad, or, I don't think I am doing that, then I let them know, like, it's not that I don't believe you, it's that I can observe these things and so can others. And the observation to me is that other people in this organization are going to think that this is an acceptable behavior. And I can't allow that. I won't allow that, because I will lose A players because my C player can't behave. You will lose great players. Like the reason that A players leave organizations is because they can't stand the C players. Like they're like, I do their job and they're late. Like, dude, that's not even fair. Like, I work harder, I show up longer, I do more work, I do their job, and they get the hall pass. That don't work here. And so this is why the culture part is so important. When you have this apology, you have to tell them the cost of this. Next, you've got to talk about the change. What needs to change? And you got to be specific. That's why I said 24 hours, we got to respond to every email. You've got to give them the specific, or as George says, Pacific. You got to give them that Pacific thing, not to be confused with Atlantic. You got to tell them exactly what you want to happen, like the exact things that you want to happen as a result of this conversation. Now, the crazy thing though is like you have to be able to track this stuff. And this is also the next problem. Like, in order to make a change in your culture, you have to tell people the truth. You got to tell it quickly. You got to cite what's wrong, and you got to tell them what the expected outcome is. But if you can't track it, why would you tell them? So you have to be able to observe the behavior, the performance, or the lack thereof of performance, and you've got to say, like, we're going to grade it at some level. And if you can't grade it, then you shouldn't tell them. Because if you can't grade stuff, it's actually really difficult to actually get the results that you want. And nobody really grades things these days, but if you can, that's where you get the results. So as an example, if they were messing up returns, like not putting all the data in the returns correctly, like there's clerical errors, then every time there was a clerical error, I would notate it and I would say, this is not gonna happen. And you would just notate the clerical error, and you just keep notating until you just say, hey man, we talked about these things. I need you to fix them. So you have to be able to track this, right? The change. Uh-oh, did I hit something wrong? Oh, I don't know what I did there. There you go. Now, once you get the change, there you go. Thank you, Nate. Now, you have to be able to track the changes, the things happen. So let's go back to it, right? So first, then you have to do the ask. And the ask is last. Let me go over here. Actually, I was skipping to it. So you got a way to track, examples of way to track, how fast they reply to clients, how many returns get finished each week, how often work has to be redone after review, how many onboarding steps get skipped. You can track all those things. These are good examples of things you can track if these are behavioral challenges. See, most firms don't track what they want to improve. They just track simple metrics like number of minutes on a return because it's in the software, or number of appointments in a week. None of that may not necessarily be the problem. You got to track the real problem. If you're not going to track it, then it's not important to you. And last is the ask. What you got to say to them is, I ask for the things that I want to change, right? You must ask exactly what you're apologizing for and say, this is not going to happen anymore, and I need you to do this starting now. If you apologize for, like, say, poor client communications, the ask is about owning client communications or the speed at which you reply to communications. You have to be able to give them, like, this is what I expect. So now let's get into the preparing for this, okay? Preparing. These are what will stop you. You're afraid that if you have conversations like this, you're probably going to get somebody that quits. That's going to happen. And the clients will pay the price because you'll be behind on work. Or this is not the right time, it's busy right now, so I can't let them go. Or they can't quit right now. Or I just need to get some more time to think about this. If you need, and by the way, you can have this one-on-one or you can have this in a group. I just did it in a group, but you could do this one-on-one. But these people can become cancer if you don't do this. They become cancerous. And your job is to cut the cancer as fast as possible, so you cannot wait. You know, when I was writing this initially, I debated on telling you guys, well, you know, the best time to do it is May and right after tax season. But then I was like, no, like, you got to do, you know, strike while the iron's hot, move fast, success loves speed, pressure is a privilege, go. Like, you cannot allow yourself to condone or accept poor behavior or poor performance at any cost. Doesn't matter the time. In fact, the times that you need to do it are the hardest times. You should fire people or have these conversations or force people to quit when you're busy, because that's where you're building an actual company. People will have to step up, you'll have to step up, and you'll find something remarkable in that moment, that you won and you didn't die, because it's gonna still work out just like it always did. Yes, you may have a little pain, temporary, but the reward, man, oh man, getting somebody out that doesn't need to be there is incredible, incredible. So do it now. Anytime a standard is not met, do it then and now. Do not accept waiting for the next tax season or the next deadline. Whatever it is, get them out as fast as you possibly can. As fast as you possibly can. Yes? Okay. Can we get a mic up here? He's got a question. I like Kevin's questions. This may be a dumb one, he said, but we'll be the grade. We'll take a poll after he asks the question, and we'll see if it's dumb. It's not dumb questions, dumb people, Tammy said. I'm sorry. Sorry, just saying.
Oh, there we go. I agree with all of this, right? So the standard.
The what?
Like about the standard, setting the standard, right?
Yep.
So like, my question is, what do you recommend to kind of start listing out these standards? Now, showing up on time, like that's like, sure, that's an example we use, but
yeah,
to come up with a list of like standards.
Well, give me an example of one thing you want to change.
change or
Well,
my standard?
set as a standard. It's a behavioral change. So that's
Replying to a client within 24 hours is pretty much our standard.
It's a pretty good one, right?
Yeah. That's what we already do. But I never thought about like, oh, this is our standard. It's just something we already do.
Well, that is your standard.
Right, but I never like mentally like wrote it down or like
because you have good players, by the way.
Yeah.
So the less that you have to say and the behavior is adopted, the better the players you have. So standards are the way we operate. So it's just who we are. And if you have good players, they operate in those same standards without actually verbally saying it, right? Like we don't have to say these things, they just happen. Where standards really come into play is when you have new hires because they don't know your standards, so they have to observe them, so you have to state them. And a standard is typically, could come in the form of an SOP, or it could be a form of your core values. Like that's who we are and this is what we do. And part of our core value of, let's say, details matter, part of our details matter core value is that we reply to clients in 24 hours, that we don't make mistakes, and if we do, we fix them quickly, and that we respond and do, you see what I'm saying? It just goes deeper and deeper. So it's not like you have, because
it's not another document. It's already
knowing
embedded.
you would list out like a scroll when they get hired, and it's like, right, read them all, right? The standards here are, if you attract good people, you don't have to teach those type of standards. But higher standards could be, like, give me an example of something right now that is very complex in your organization that you want to fix, like higher level than replying to a client. Is there a standard of some sort?
Reviews in a timely manner.
Okay, reviewing a tax return.
Yeah.
Or reviewing a return that is prepared?
Yes.
Right? Okay, got you. And how long is a timely manner?
24 hours, I would say.
Okay, but...
during tax season, 3 business days.
So give me an so when would somebody have, like, from
this is for myself, by the way.
Oh.
I was 7 business days late on return reviews.
Well, but then you have to go into more granular. So if it's just a standard of filing or like reviewing returns, it's like, when is a return ready for review? Because that has to be defined, right?
Yep.
Like, because you could say it's ready for review and then you realize you're missing a form. So then it's not really ready for review. It's like not done yet, right? Because then you're like, I need to get this from my client. So where does it go back into? When we were in Liberty, by the way, this is so archaic because we didn't have like technology to solve this problem. We had a bin system. Anybody ever use a bin system? Yeah? And I had like file boxes and like one said like on hold, in review, gosh, there was like 5 or 6 little bins. And so we literally would get the file and pick it up, put it here, put it here. Like that's kind of like, that was a way for us to enforce standards without having to say it, right?
We have that in like a Kanban board.
Digital. But what we did.
We don't meet those, like, we're not consistently having the conversation of like, hey, it should be done within.
Let me tell you what we did, because I actually, now that like you got the mental picture of how we did this, when I wasn't getting what I wanted because we printed out these papers that just said what the bin was like titled, I put a description on the bin. And I did this when it was like, in review, must be e-filed within 24 hours. So if there was anything in that bin, it needed to be done within 24 hours. Like I put that there. So it either had to go to the next bin, which was transmitted, or it had to go back to missing docs or whatever the bin was. So like they had to move it out of there. That was the standard. We had to do it. So I think that if you just put a description of what you want with what you're giving them, it probably would help. Does that make sense?
Yep.
That was really what I did. And actually my team, George, made fun of me because when I had all these problems, I printed these documents out to put on the bins, and it used to just say one big word, like, in review. And then it was like, in review, and it had a paragraph under it, like, in review means, and this is what we need to do with these review files. And then it was 24 hours to do this, and then it was e-file transmitted, accepted, rejected, waiting for funds, or, pending refund. So and then we put which each one described, and that's kind of interesting because Liberty didn't teach me that. I just made that up when I was like, man, people don't get what I'm trying to tell them to do. So you just got to be more explainable or explicit. There you go. All right. Then get a line before the team gets to hear it. So actually, I think I missed a slide here. If you have partners, Some of you have partners. I encourage you to have the same conversation with each partner. Like, hey, partner, I apologize in the past, right? Like, I have lacked in leadership or lacked in the ability to get the job done. I've not been as good as I possibly could be in this particular area. And what it is really pointing out is we are allowing our team to get this done wrong and do this, and I'm not seeing the results here. And, you know, the problem now is that we have a team that's entitled and not getting the results that we want, and they're not building the culture that we want. And now, like, we've got to do something about it. So my ask here is, like, we just get better. And let's have more meetings, let's have communication, and let's go have this conversation with the team. Like, you got to the partners have to be aligned in anything before they go have this conversation, because it could be a disconnect. Because, you know, it's funny, but especially when there's two partners and they're both operational. I had this because I used to have a partner many years ago in my tax business. And what was funny is he was less involved than I was, but people knew him, my team knew him. And so whenever they would ask me for something and I would say no, what do you think they would do? They'd go to the other guy, right? It was like, mom, like, dad said no. Like, what would mom say, right? That's what kids do. Well, that's why the great apology works really well for partners, because if you guys can get on the same page, then you won't have to have that, well, they asked me this and I said this and no, it's that. Like, you just got to know, because you've already agreed that these are the challenges within your organization. So then get alignment before you go, and then you go back to the leaders. So 4 ways to blow it during the conversation. So this could blow it up. If you don't accept any responsibility for not letting them down. Number 2, you give them a pass. Like, you say, it's okay, I understand. Or you blame someone. You're like, yeah, you know, Tim did that. Yep, it was Tim, but let's continue. Or, right, you don't actually change. These 4 things will sabotage you. And I've done them, actually. I've done them all. Right? I'm like, you know what? It's kind of not my fault, but I need you to change. No, it is my fault because I didn't say something. I've also done you know what? It was just busy. I understand you just missing those emails is okay, but we just can't do it anymore. No. Don't accept it. Just don't even admit that it was wrong. Don't do that. You blame someone. I've done that. Like, Susan should have taken care of it. No. Don't accept that, because then you tarnish the opportunity to actually get them to accept the problem, and then you don't actually change, meaning they do it again and you don't say anything. If they do it again and you don't say anything, you have accepted the problem. You've accepted it, and that is unacceptable. Problems are going to come up no matter what, but having difficult conversations needs to be had, okay? The hardest part, by the way, is people will leave. The conversation changes, right? Their deals at the firm. Not everyone will accept the new deal here with you and saying, I want to do this, I want to see the change. Some will opt out of actually wanting to make these changes. Some will be vocal. I've had people fight with me and tell me, David, like, this isn't true, this is not right. Like, and it was literally just telling them, guys, we need to do a better job at communicating. That seems to be a big challenge in all organizations. People just don't communicate fast enough, and it gets me pissed off. I get pissed off all the time about it. I'm like, guys, why can't we just send a damn email? Why don't we get the format right? Why can't we get these things right? And then it's always somebody, oh, it was their fault. It was them. It was supposed to be them. Oh, we didn't see this. And I'm like, no. Details matter. You're messing up. Let's have a conversation. I apologize for not saying it in the past, but here's the deal, right? Like, I'll accept that I just didn't have the courage to say this, but these things are not acceptable, and we need to make a change. It's costing us this, it's costing us that, and I'm not going to accept that anymore, and neither should you. Today, we need to make a decision. We're not going to let that happen anymore, right? Yes? Okay, starting today. But then I've had people tell me, no, that's not true, David. I do my job. I'm the best in the world, and it's rarely the truth. But I've had to lose people because they think that I'm just calling them out on stuff. And here's the challenge, and we'll open up to Q&A, by the way, at the end of this. And so get your real questions ready for me. But what I've learned now the way that you really avoid a lot more of these difficult ones that are going to fight you or want to quit, it's all about how you hire. Like hiring is going to solve these problems, because if you hire a good person, you're going to have these conversations. If they're the best person in the world, it doesn't matter. The ones that fight you are usually the wrong cultural fit. They're just the wrong person. And you're trying to correct something to a person who's just unreasonable. Unreasonable people you cannot reason with. You can't tell them that they're wrong because they won't accept it even if they're wrong. And that is a problem in firms today because we've hired the wrong people. We've hired the wrong people. We've hired the wrong people. So be prepared to lose people. Please be prepared. Be prepared. In fact, it's good to lose people. Let me say that again. It's good to lose people. I don't believe you should be bragging about having people for 30 years. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some people who should be with you 30 years, but you can't have all the team the same. And there's reasons for that. Number one, there has to have been somebody you recruited along the way that just excelled past your current team, because there's better talent out there, number one. Number two, like, it's just not possible. Like, you need to increase the quality of your team, and most teams can't grow on their own. You need to bring outside blood. You need to bring people. Like, that's what's going to change. Every one of your firms will change when you bring one good person in. If you already have that person, great, bring one more. And all of a sudden, boom, growth will happen. So I think a lot of people just want comfort, so they just keep people around. I don't want to keep people around. I've actually had people have conversations with me who have been around for a while, who I've had difficult conversations with, really difficult, and they've told me, if I'm not doing my job, just let me go. And I was like, man, that took balls. I was like, that was good. That made me like him a lot more, by the way. It's like, I like you. Because when somebody's willing to say that, that means they really don't want to let you down. And I want people to tell me I can't let you down. And in fact, I believe that's the best culture you can inspire people with, is that the people don't want to let you down. Just like I don't want to let you guys down, I hope that you don't want to let me down. I hope that your team feels the same way. Don't be afraid to lose people. If you lose somebody that you say you can't afford to lose, you have a bigger issue in your company. Everybody should be able to lose somebody. Make the change stick in your organization by having this and doing it over the next 90 days. Review it. Post the numbers if there's stats to verify or validate the changes. Hold one short meeting a week to review the numbers or to hold people accountable. When a standard slips, address it the same day or week. Do not wait to call things out. The great apology is not about being sorry. It's not about being sorry. It's not about being sorry. You're the one who built it. Just own it. I don't call it the great apology because I want you to feel bad or be sad. I just want you to say, I messed up as a leader, and I'm now going to take full responsibility for the outcome of my poor decisions of not addressing these challenges. Now, to wrap this up, it's hard to have this conversation if you don't live up to the standards you're trying to correct. So if you believe that by telling people they need to do a better job, but yet you still don't live up to those standards, then you probably should not have this conversation. But losing people is going to be inevitable for your company. And it's not always going to be pretty, and it's not always going to be fun, but it's the right thing to do to grow. You got to prune the weeds out of your garden. If you want a beautiful garden, you got to tend it, and you've got to get rid of the weeds. And if this was only firm owners, I would ask you who's got weeds, but some of you brought your team. Some of y'all brought weeds here. Look, I took people to conferences all the time that are not with me anymore, so I know I fucking brought some weeds to some conferences, right? I know I did. You just grow through this. It's just growing through it. And I'm not perfect at this, but like these conversations, I just want you to know you should have. If you're not willing to have them, then you're not really a leader. You're more of a manager. And then you should probably step away. And not every owner needs to be the CEO, but it's your responsibility. You should. Don't delegate this. I wouldn't say, hey, man, I learned this new tactic. It's a great apology. Can you do it for me? Like, if it's you, do it. Just do it. Like, take it. I know how scary it is to tell people the truth, especially for those that you haven't said it in a long time. You know, my one of the hardest, and it wasn't a fire, she quit, but one of the hardest things that I had to accept was I had my sister working for me for a long time. She worked for me for the first 5 years of business. She was like the person who ran the office. She handled all the paperwork. She was really good, and she just started slipping. Like, she was letting shit fall through the cracks. And here, actually, let me point this out. This is actually a great illustration. I didn't know how bad she was until I met George. Then I didn't know how bad she was until I met Karen, my now wife. I didn't know how bad she was until I don't know if Ruth joined at that time, but I started to see A players, and then I realized that she sucked. And I had to have a difficult conversation with her, and she quit. And it sucked because she's my family, number one, and she also did probably 250 returns. And it was a very hard day. And she said a lot of mean things to me. A lot of mean things. And to be quite honest, this is a vulnerable moment. She said a lot of mean things about George and Karen. Well, and rightfully so, because I was praising them for doing a damn good job because they were, and she was not getting any more praises, and she hated that. But they were doing a damn good job. They turned around the business. They were growing. They were helping me solve big problems, and she was causing me problems. But in the past, I thought she was solving them. This is a great example of hiring better players. A better player will expose the others. Right now, you think you have an A player until you meet one, and you're just like, whoa, this is different. And that was probably one of the hardest things ever. I mean, luckily, my sister and I have a great relationship today. We were never really, really close, so that's okay. But I mean, she was at my house this past weekend, and my family was there, so like we don't hate each other or any of that. Like, that was squashed. But it was a hard conversation. And I've had many of those conversations where I've let go of people that I really, truly cared and loved for, but you just have to have them. And it was almost every time that I've let go of somebody, it was a lack of courage of calling out the bullshit before it got to the point that we were at. I just bit my tongue too many times, because it wasn't that she had never messed up in the past. It's just that I bit my tongue in acceptance for a long time until sometime it just became too obvious and I had to speak up. And when I spoke up, it's like, wait a minute, you never told me that I sucked. You never told me these things. You never said these things. And it was just like a bomb exploded, because she's like, how could you tell me that I'm not doing a great job? But for the last 5 years, you've only praised me and given me awards and telling me that I'm doing so good for you. And then all of a sudden, it's like you just turn your back on me. That's basically what she told me. And I said, like, it's not that way. I didn't know this apology thing, so I tried my best to explain that I just didn't say it. But if I would have known this, it would have been so much better, because I could have started with, like, I am so sorry for letting you down. I am so sorry that I have to have this conversation because I just didn't have the courage to speak up. I'm so sorry that if I would have just really been honest with you, this would not be a case right now. In fact, like, you probably wouldn't even need to, we would have trained better, we would have done better, but at this point, I just can't. I was a big bomb and she was a big bomb, and we met together and we blew some shit up. Right? And it was guns a-blazing when she walked out of that place, you know? You know? And this was one of those, like I told you guys yesterday, look, I had the conversation. It was like, look, there's two of us here. One of us has to leave, and unfortunately, like, I own this thing, so it's kind of sucks, but you probably have to go, not me, right? I mean, as much as I wish you could stay, One of us can only stay. And the craziest part, just to give you more color to the story, she brought my partner into this, and me and my partner got into a big fight because he sided with her. And he had rightfully so, because she only told him her side of the story, right? Like, David always told me I was great. He's always these things. And now he's got George and he's got Karen, and they're just always running and doing cool things, and they don't even talk to me. And I was like, oh my God, I'm glad I married her, right? That would have been awkward. Karen and I are together still, and I guess she was wrong. She's like, you're not, because I wasn't even dating Karen at the time. We're like talking, let's put it that way. And then it just became that thing. So I met Karen, by the way, my wife, and I wish she was here. She couldn't make it, but I met my wife from teaching a tax class. She joined my tax class, and I was teaching it, and that's how we met. And so, well, actually, I wasn't even teaching it. It was somebody else teaching it, and they couldn't make it that day, so I was a substitute teacher, She fell in love. Yeah. He's so good at taxes. That's how I got her. I was just tax guru, There was a study I saw recently that people who meet at work are more likely to have long-lasting relationships. I didn't know that. Somebody showed me a study. I was like, and that's interesting. And more people were getting married through Tinder than ever before. That's also another thing I saw. Anybody married through Tinder? No? Anybody want to admit it? Anybody have like a Tinderella? What? Oh, good call. Good call. You're a Bumble guy. I see it. Yeah. You're a Bumble. You got a Bumblebee. Okay. So we have two options today. I'm gonna be real with you guys. We have two options. So we have 7 minutes of my presentation, and let me make sure I don't have any other. I think that was the last slide. Yep. Okay. If you like that, this is exactly the kind of content that we bring to our community every single day. You see, we know that building a team is going to take you from level 3, 4, 5, or 6, or 7. We have stages in the tax game. And if you want to know what stage you're in, or you want to help growing to the next level, we can help you. Go click down below. If you're a firm owner making over $200,000 a year and you want to leverage AI and advanced tax strategies, and you want somebody in your corner, click on the link below, schedule a strategy session, and we'll see how we can help you grow and scale this year.